Hey, let me welcome you again. My name is Jevon Caldwell-Gross, the teaching and guest experience pastor here at St. Luke's. And today we begin a new relationship series called Indispensable. So I hope and pray that over these next 4 weeks that God would encourage us and challenge us to look at our relationships differently. So as we begin our sermon series, how about you join me for a quick word of prayer? Dear God, we are so grateful for the many ways that you move within our lives. As we approach this new sermon series, Indispensable, our prayer is that you would help us to see our relationships not through our eyes, but through yours. For relationships are really the foundation and the bedrock of so much of our lives. And we hope that over these next several weeks that you will continue to work in and through and around us as we approach the different relationships that we have in and around our lives. But now, God, answer the prayer, not the one that we have on our lips, but maybe the one that we have on our hearts. For we stand on the word today that when the word goes out, it shall not come back void. This is our hope and our prayer. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Amen. Indispensable. It's one of the most important decisions that you'll ever make in your life. In fact, studies have been done on this, and people are able to draw a connection between this decision and your level of satisfaction, your level of success, and even your span of life. It even affects the quality of our faith journey. Now, there are a variety of decisions that we don't get to make. We don't get to make where we were born. We don't get to decide how we were raised. We don't get to decide family history. In fact, we don't even get to decide our family. But we do get to decide on our important relationships. One of the most important decisions that you'll ever make in your life are the people with whom we choose to be in a relationship. Your relationships play a critical role in your life because who we are, it is largely determined by the company that we keep. In fact, the Bible puts it like this: walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. JCG Translation, you don't have to be a fool to suffer harm, you just have to hang with them. Now, this is not dictated by personality because we are people created and wired for connection. It is who we are. It is in our DNA because from the very first words in the Bible, we learn that it is not good for man or woman to be alone. And if we are created in the image of God, a God that is a God that is communal by nature, it is just who we are. It is why we join clubs and teams. It's why we join churches and get involved in groups. It is why we join fraternities and sororities. We join book clubs and bridge groups. I mean, people will go to great lengths, even in unhealthy ways, to feel this need for connection in their lives. It starts when we are young, looking for people in the sandbox, but the need for connection and community and relationships, it does not diminish with age. It's just that we become more selective. But the need does not decrease. We are intrinsically wired for relationships. This has nothing to do with being introverted or extroverted because your life will be greatly influenced or lack thereof by your significant relationships. I mean, think about the significant moments in your life, and many of them have some relational aspect. It's just who we are. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to look at the relationships that are indispensable, the relationships that we can't do without. Now, this series is actually based off of a book called 11 Indispensable Relationships by an author by the name of Leonard Sweet. Now, we only have 4 weeks, but we will have a midweek message on social media that will pick up another relationship that we think is indispensable to our faith journey. And one of the first indispensable relationships is a Barnabas. It's the encourager. Now, this is how the author Leonard Sweet describes the Barnabas or the encourager. It is someone in your life who is constantly saying, "Atta boy" or "Atta girl." I mean, when you have had more than your fair share of jabs to the ribs and stabs in the back, who puts his or her arms around your shoulder and whispers, "Don't let them get to you. I believe in you." I mean, that's your Barnabas. You need affirmation, you need attention and encouragement as much as you need food, shelter, and rest. In fact, one researcher gives this definition to the word encouragement. He says encouragement is the expression of affirmation through language of symbolic representation to instill courage and perseverance, confidence, inspiration, or hope in a person within the context of addressing a challenging situation or realizing a potential. So here's a critical question. Who or what encourages you? Who is your encourager? Who is your Barnabas? Here's why everyone that's watching online or those in the room need to hear this, because everyone needs an encourager. Everyone needs a Barnabas, because at some point in your life, you will face some kind of discouragement. Somebody say discouragement. In fact, the text is quite clear on the necessity of this relationship, because it picks up at the start of Paul's ministry and things are not going as planned. In fact, a few verses earlier, Paul has this transformative experience with God and he starts living out his call. Now, one would think that this is a cause for celebration. I mean, they have living proof of the transformative power of God. Paul is a living witness to what happens when God intervenes in someone's life. I mean, how can you not celebrate when someone has turned their lives around? And the Bible shows us that when the prodigal son returns, they should throw a party with their finest wine. But that is not what happens to Paul. I mean, Paul is a perfect example of the resurrecting power of Jesus Christ. If there was anything that should have convinced this community that God can still work miracles, it was the fact that this man that used to kill them has now completely transformed. But that's not what happens when this story starts out, because people didn't take it so well. He's not welcomed with open arms. In fact, there's a plot to kill the life of Paul. I mean, they had to sneak him out of cities. It was getting so bad. I mean, he's trying to do right. He's trying to turn over a new leaf. I mean, he's preaching about the goodness of Jesus Christ, and people are ready to take the brother out. And here's why you need Barnabas. Because there will always be something in your life that would discourage you from who you are trying to become, where you are trying to go, and the call that you are trying to live. So here are 3 ways that discouragement normally comes in our lives. Just 3 ways. Number 1, discouragement comes by what people say. These are the harsh, unkind words that diminish your spirit. I mean, it's what people post on social media, what they say behind your back. Number 2, it's the system or unspoken expectations that prevents advancement. It's the unspoken rules that discourages participation or your involvement. It's intentionally or unintentionally making something so hard to dissuade someone or a group of people. Or number 3, it's the unfavorable circumstance that you don't want or didn't plan. It's the rejection. It's the layoff. It's the setback. It is something happens that radically prohibits movement in a particular direction. In fact, I found that what makes people quit is not their lack of passion, is that they are unprepared to handle the discouragement that comes along with their journey. Because you will always, somebody say always, You will always face discouragement. There will always be something in your life that would discourage you from moving forward. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's good, discouragement will always come. And here's the hard reality. You will face more discouragement when you are trying to do the right thing, more so when you are not. I mean, there will never be a shortage of people that would discourage you. When the call comes, it'll come with discouragement. When the idea comes, it'll come with discouragement. When growth comes, it'll come with discouragement. I mean, Paul was trying to remind people about the love of Jesus Christ, and he's facing discouragement. I mean, Jesus himself was trying to help people have a closer relationship with God, and he was killed and crucified. King was assassinated for the very message that he's now revered for. I mean, what is celebrated now was actually radical just decades ago. I mean, think about this. He had a vision that everyone should be treated equal and was killed at the age of 33. So in case you were wondering, everybody faces moments in their lives when they get discouraged, when they get down, when we question if we made the right decision or not, when we second guess ourselves, when we lose confidence. Discouragement doesn't discriminate. We doubt our abilities. We wonder if we are the right person for the job. We're anxious about the next step. I mean, people go through all kinds of things. But think about encouragement as a reinforcement. It's this affirming and reaffirming what God has already placed inside of us. Your Barnabas is the reinforcement to the experiences of discouragement that you face in your everyday life. I mean, think about it like this. When I go outside to shovel, I make sure that I have some reinforcements for the cold. I mean, I'm from Detroit, but I still don't like the cold. And I make sure there is something covering my head. I'm diligent about wearing my scarf, and wearing a coat is a must. And depending on the wind, I'm not ashamed to wear layers, a sweater, a long sleeve, an undershirt, pants, boots, socks, and gloves. I'm from Detroit, but I'm not ashamed, because what am I trying to do? And I know it sounds extreme, but I told you I don't like the cold. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to do two things. I'm trying to keep the cold out, and I'm trying to keep the heat in. I'm trying to protect myself from the cold, but hold on to the heat that's already inside of me. And that's the power of having a Barnabas. It's a relationship reinforcement. Because it's someone who reinforces what you already know to be true, someone that helps you hold on to the confidence and the joy and the peace that's already inside of you, and someone that helps you hold on to all of that which God has already placed on the inside. Someone that has to remind you of your calling. Someone that has to remind you of how gifted you are. Someone to say, don't give up. Someone to remind you to block out all of the wind, to block out all of the naysayers, to block out all of the discouragement, and help you hold on to what's inside of you. Because when he had come to Jerusalem, Scripture says he attempted to join the disciples, and when they were all afraid of him, for they did not believe, somebody say believe, they did not believe that he was a disciple. Notice that the key word says believe. They don't believe what they see. He's been called by God, but not everyone believes it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't blame them. I mean, would you believe him? I mean, has Paul really changed that much? I mean, is this just another way to infiltrate their faith, to arrest them again? And here's why you need a Barnabas, because you would never get 100% belief rate. Everyone, and this is going to be hard for some of you to hear this, but everyone won't always believe in you at the same level. Paul was already growing in popularity among the Gentiles, but not with everyone. I mean, here's the critical question. Why does Barnabas believe in Paul when no one else does? Because it's not as though they have a lot of history together. It's not as though they grew up together. I mean, we don't get any indication of that. It's not as though Barnabas has some special knowledge that other people don't. We have no indication that Barnabas received some special revelation from God regarding Paul. So why does he believe when no one else does? Well, here's the answer. You ready for this? Barnabas believes in Paul when no one else does because it's just who Barnabas is. I know that was real deep, wasn't it? I mean, Barnabas just has the gift at seeing the best in people. And that's what you need. I mean, Barnabas just doesn't say it because a Barnabas believes in you and Barnabas sees the best in you. It's not just the words of affirmation, but it's the belief. That's why you need someone that encourages you and believes in you and sees the best in you. In fact, Barnabas wasn't even his real name. His real name was Joseph. I mean, he's a highly respected person in the Jewish community, and some people believe that he was well educated, but it became his calling card. It was what people started calling him based on his character, and you don't find any other person in the biblical narrative who has been given this nickname or delineation per se. I mean, all we know is that he had the propensity and the character of someone who always had the routine and reputation of encouraging people. In fact, we find this out in Acts chapter 4. It says, Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, whom the apostles called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, sold a field he owned and brought the money and put it at the apostles' feet. It's just who Barnabas was. Now, here's the reality. Everybody can't be your Barnabas. Some people can't be Barnabas because you can't expect a Barnabas response if it's not in them. Some people just don't have that gift. They might love you, but they can't play that role. I mean, they've known you for years, but they can't be your Barnabas. They know all your secrets, but they don't have a Barnabas heart. Everybody in your life can't play the role of Barnabas. They don't have the Barnabas spirit. They don't have the Barnabas gift. They might have other significant roles in your life, but Barnabas looks at this man that was just putting people in prison, and he makes a decision to stay with him so that he can move freely around Jerusalem. He believes in him. You cannot teach that. There are some people that you're waiting in your life to encourage you, and they're never going to be your Barnabas because they just don't have it in them. I met a man, he's a pastor in Atlantic City by the name of Collins Days, and he had the largest church in Atlantic City when I was there. And he ended up becoming a really good friend of mine. I mean, Second Baptist Church was the it church then, and is still the it church in southern Jersey now. Now, Reverend Days had a habit of befriending every new pastor in the city. And if you were new to the city, he would invite you to come preach so that everyone could learn who you are. Now, after being there a few months, we decided to host our own Freedom School, but I'd only been there a short amount of time, so I didn't have the social capital yet to raise a lot of funds and didn't know where to look, and we didn't have access to large amounts of money. So I was telling Reverend Days about Freedom School one day, and he loved the idea of the program, and he wanted to know if I had time to go down to City Hall so that we, somebody say we, so that we could start raising funds. Now, we was very clear that this was a program that our church was going to put on, but he had included himself in the efforts to help us raise funds. So we go down to City Hall, and we go from office to office. And he's introducing me into this person and that person, and I tell them about the program, and just about every person sounded a little iffy until Reverend Days reminded them of how much money they had in their budget. and challenged their office to make a firm commitment to a new program that would change the lives of the next generation. Now, we left City Hall. Somebody said we left City Hall with a good amount of money raised, not because of who I was, because they didn't know me at all. I was new to the city. We left there with a good amount of money, not because of who I was, but because of who believed in me. And I know Reverend Days well enough to know now that it wasn't because I was just somebody special. It was just who he was. Because when certain people believe in you, it helps you to believe in yourself. The Barnabas helps us bridge the gap of unbelief, because there are some times when we don't believe it. I mean, Paul is blessed, but now folks are trying to kill him. Sometimes we don't feel it. Sometimes we are loved, and yet we don't see it. Sometimes we've got a calling on our lives, but we don't understand it. But it's the Barnabas who comes in and fills the gap of unbelief. I mean, look at this scenario again. Paul was known in the Jewish community for murdering Christians. I mean, he's a great example of what happens when religion goes wrong. So you can imagine the amount of enemy he's made at this point. I mean, he would pull people out of their homes, pull them out of their synagogues and have them arrested and stoned. But because God had a different plan for his life, God called him to preach and plant churches. I mean, what we're trying to do with our online campus and in the community of Broad Ripple is God's way of just sharing the gospel. I mean, Paul was so eager, he doesn't really give it time to blow over. He's murdering people, gets called, then starts preaching. He gets converted, starts going into synagogues and to the same places that he pulled people out of. Now, this is just a reminder that just because you moved on doesn't mean that other people have. I mean, our conversion doesn't heal old wounds. I mean, no one trusts him. People are afraid of him. His past has caught up to him. I mean, he's called, but he still needs help. He's called, but he still needs help. And then enters Barnabas. He comes alongside Paul and vouches for him. Now, Paul is able to move freely, not because he has convinced them, not because he's won them over, not because they think he's so gifted. They were plotting to kill him, but somebody that they deeply respected vouched for him. You see, there is encouragement that takes on different forms. It is more than just words of affirmation. I mean, that's not going to help Paul right now. I mean, you can do it, Paul. Hey, you got this, Paul. You the man, Paul, right? That's not what Paul needs right now. Private affirmations are empty without public commitments. For some, words don't cost too much behind closed doors, but real encouragement is when it costs us something. Because the impact goes much further than what happens to Paul. I mean, watch the impact of having Barnabas. Because his encouragement takes public commitment. It not only has the impact of encouraging Paul, but also encourages the people that are doubting. In fact, I came across this post on social media the other day of a young woman that was going through a really difficult journey that most women her age don't experience. But I was amazed at her courage and vulnerability of sharing her journey with so many. But I watched people all around the country encourage her in a variety of ways. Don't want to give away their names. It's a sensitive topic, but I just wanted to share this story with you because she had a quote on one of her posts that I think shows the power of why you need a Barnabas in your life. Here's what she says. She says, losing your breast to breast cancer is nothing to smile at, unless you have the most ridiculously amazing support system in the world. That's why you need a Barnabas in your life. Paul is absolutely nothing without someone that encourages him in the face of discouragement. All that Paul has accomplished means absolutely nothing if he doesn't have somebody that believes in him and sees the best in him. Paul doesn't plant a single church and change a single city. Has someone not come alongside of him, not just with positive words, but their commitment publicly to believe in him? All of us need somebody, because you never know who's watching, you never know who's reading, and you never know who's scrolling. Everybody needs a Barnabas in their lives. It is absolutely indispensable. Won't you pray with me? God, it's one of the most important decisions we'll make. It's not our jobs, not our profession. It's not so many things that we put so much time and energy and anxiety around. But today, God, I just hope that we're reminded that what's so important in our lives as it relates to our faith journey and staying on this walk and being encouraged on this walk, it's not just of how gifted we are. It's not how much you have changed our lives, but it is making the conscious decision of putting the right people around us. So God, we don't want to make these decisions by ourselves. We want to be led and guided by your Holy Spirit to begin to identify the people in our lives that can serve as our Barnabas, people who will encourage us and believe in us and publicly affirm who we are and who we are called to be. And not just people who receive the encouragement, but God, give us the courage to be the Barnabas. Give us the courage and the wisdom to encourage someone else along their faith journey. Because there's someone else that is experiencing discouragement. There's someone else that needs somebody else to believe in them. And there's somebody in our circle, somebody in our family, there's somebody on our jobs, there's somebody in our community that needs a public affirmation. Not just kind words behind closed doors. So God, we pray for the Barnabas in our lives and pray for that spirit to be contagious in us. For this is our hope and this is our prayer. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.